Hey, it's Medium Jenny Lee. I'm here with the next raw contact discussion. This is going to be for session 26, so that means this is video number 27. This session is pretty long, so we should definitely get going. All right, Dawn's first question. We're down to the last 3,000 years of the present cycle, and I was wondering if the law of one is either written or spoken in either written or spoken form has been available within the past 3,000 years in any complete way, such as we're doing now. Is it available in any other source? There is no possibility of a complete source of information of the law of one in this density. However, certain of your writings passed to you by your so-called holy works have portions of the law. Interesting. Does the Bible have portions? Yes. Does the Old Testament have any portions? Yes. Which has more, the Old Testament or the New Testament? Withdrawing from each of the collections of which you speak, the portions have to do with the law of one. The content is approximately equal. However, the so-called Old Testament has a larger amount of negatively influenced material. You don't say. What percentage is Orion influenced in both the Old and New Testament? We prefer that this be left to the discretion of those who seek the law of one. We're not speaking in order to judge. Such statements would be constructed by some of those who may read this material as judgmental. We can only suggest a careful reading and inward digestion of the contents. The understandings will become obvious. Obvious to most. Maybe. Perhaps. Okay. Oh, my child is going to be loud, so if you hear him in the background, I did not tell him I was going to be recording a video, so he doesn't know. Can you make her cough? Cough. Poor Carla still got her cold. Have you communicated with any of our population in the third density incarnate state in recent times? Specify recent times and the pronoun you. Has Ra communicated with any of our population in this century in the last 80 years? We have not. Has the law of one been communicated within the past 80 years by any source other than an entity in our population? The ways of one have seldom been communicated, although there are rare instances in the previous 80 of your years. There have been many communications from fourth density due to the drawing towards the harvest to fourth density. These are the ways of universal love and understanding. The other teachings are reserved for those whose depths of understanding recommend and attract such further communication. Okay. Did the Confederation then step up its program for helping planet Earth in the last major cycle? Seems that they did, especially considering the Industrial Revolution. Is there any reason other than that they wanted to produce more leisure time? Is that the whole reason? It's not the total reason. Approximately 200 of your years in the past, there began a significant amount of entities who by seniority were incarnating for learned teaching purposes, rather than for the lesser of the learned teaching of those less aware of the process. Whew, that's a sentence. This was our signal to enable communication to take place. So about 200 years ago, they started letting souls that had seniority, or entities that have seniority, be incarnated. The wanderers, which, remember, a wanderer is, according to Ra's description, a fourth density being, so a social memory complex that decides to come and be an incarnated human, which means that they're going to forget why they came here, but they may or may not achieve the goals of which they set out to do. The wanderers which came among you began to make themselves felt at approximately this time, firstly offering ideas and thoughts containing the distortion of free will. This was the prerequisite for further wanderers which had information of a more specific nature. The thought must precede the action. I put a star next to that, but I don't remember why. Why did I put... Oh, I remember. Okay, so wanderers came amongst humans as human beings, and they were able to offer thoughts and ideas. This was a prerequisite for further wanderers which had information of a more specific nature to offer. The thought must precede the action. Now I remember why. I'm actually wearing... Okay, so this shirt is like not in the best... it's not in the best quality anymore because I've gotten paint and God knows what else on it, and it's falling apart now. But I'm actually wearing a shirt with Albert Einstein on it, and it says, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Good old Albert, who is a wanderer, right? Isn't that what they said he was? Oh, I just got chills. Okay. There is a really fantastic quote in the beginning of the book, The Secret Garden, which I have upstairs, and I probably have it marked or something. I'll have to share it in a later video. There's also a really great quote by Primus in a song that is about kind of the same thing. And actually, I just saw where I had written down that Primus quote yesterday. I wrote it down a long time ago. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's from the song Welcome to This World. And I'm hoping I can remember the line correctly, but it says, "So many good ideas are slain by those who dare not step out of line." And the quote in The Secret Garden talks about people not wanting to do things or move forward in like scientific discoveries and things because it's unusual. But like it takes time for the thought to become normal. And that's what Rod just said. Somebody had to imagine something different. Somebody had to share a different idea, be completely thought of as a wackadoo, and then, but because it was out there, people started thinking about it. And then later on, it gets picked up by somebody else, and it becomes something miraculous and normal. It's happened, oh my God, my child is so loud. It happens over and over and over and over and over again in human history. When somebody thinks of something real weird, at first they're thought of poorly, and they're usually dismissed. But then when the next person comes along and takes that idea and they do something with it, major things happen. So that's what Rod's talking about right here. Wanderers came in, shared thoughts and ideas, probably were dismissed, probably people thought they were crazy, but then the next set of wanderers took that information and did it, made it something. And this is talking about the stuff during the Industrial Revolution. Exciting stuff. The thought must precede the action. Can you make Carla cough? We're wondering if Abraham Lincoln was a wanderer. Incorrect. This entity was normal, Earth being, which chose to leave the vehicle and allow an entity to use it on a permanent basis. This is relatively rare compared to the phenomenon of wanderers. So, what in the hell is Ra talking about here? It just so happens that I read a whole book about it. It's called Strangers Among Us. Strangers Among Us. It's written by Ruth Montgomery, who was I think I've mentioned her before. She was an automatic writer from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Read a lot of books. I've read 2 of them so far, and one of them is all about this phenomena called a walk-in. And I think there's been some other terms for it, but that's the one that she uses. And a walk-in is basically when the soul of someone, usually an earthly bound soul, the 3rd density soul, has some reason to leave their body. It could be that they're tired of living. Maybe they want to commit suicide. Maybe, stuff's just not going like they want it to. They have some tragedies. They can't get over things. And they want to leave Earth. They're ready to be done with this life. And higher density beings will hear their call. And they will start to influence these people's thoughts and start making themselves known. And then they can be like, hey, you can leave and I can take over your body if you want. And supposedly this happens. And then the person, it's still their body, but the new soul retains all of the memory of the previous soul, but people in their lives notice a huge difference in them. They start being able to function in a much better way. They can move, they start doing things that are unusual or out of character for them. And they come into these bodies that other souls wanted to leave so that they, without as much forgetting. It's like they don't have to completely forget. They might forget a little bit, but they're not going to completely forget, like when you incarnate from fresh and like into a baby, so they can get more done. And Ra is saying that Abraham Lincoln was one of these, which, if you know anything about the history of Abraham Lincoln, him and Mary Todd, his wife, had a really hard time because they lost a son. Their son Todd died when he was very young. And as far as I can remember, that might have been their only biological child. She had another son from somebody else, and he was a real piece of shit. But they're all, if I remember correctly, and I might be wrong, I can't remember, but it really devastated them that he passed away. And his wife never really got over it. So it would kind of make you think that maybe he didn't really get over it either, And perhaps that was the catalyst for this to happen, because Mary Todd does become very spiritual after that, because she wants to connect with her son, and so does Abraham Lincoln. But maybe Abraham Lincoln does because he's not himself anymore. That's some weird stuff. All right, let's keep going. Okay. You would do better considering the incarnations of wanderers known as Thomas and Benjamin. So Dawn assumes he's talking about Thomas Edison and Benjamin Franklin. Incorrect. They mean Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, Ra is saying, are wanderers, 4th density social memory complex beings who came to Earth to achieve some sort of goal. And, if you know anything about those two, they were really, really frickin' odd and geniuses. So perhaps there's something to that. Okay, can you tell me where the entity that used Lincoln's, Abraham Lincoln's body what density he came from and where. It was fourth vibration. Positive? Correct. Was his assassination in any way influenced by the Orion or any negative force? Correct. Yay. Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to a different question. What was the original reason for an increase in what you call UFO activity in the past 40 years? Don can just not get over this. Poor Don continuously asks these questions about UFOs over and over and over again. And I think it's because he spent a lot of time researching it and talking to people and meeting with groups and you know, and he just can't wrap his mind around it. So here he asks again. Information which Confederation sources had offered to your entity, Albert Einstein, on my shirt, you know, became perverted and the instruments of destruction began to be created. Examples of this being the Manhattan Project and its product. So the Manhattan Project was the development of the first nuclear weapon during World War II. So John of the Frost has a really great story about this. And if you want to hear him explain it, go watch our 9th episode of The Witching Hours about the Mandela effect, and he talks about it on there. Okay. When they were developing the nuclear weapons, the atomic bomb, half of the scientists thought that if they exploded this bomb, that the entire atmosphere of our planet would catch on fire and we would all instantly perish. Let me repeat that because it bears repeating. 50%, half of the scientists working on this project, the Manhattan Project, to create the nuclear weapon, to create the atomic bomb, thought that if the bomb was detonated, that it would catch the Earth's entire atmosphere on fire, and we would all, the whole entire, every living thing, plant, animal, mineral, human, on the planet Earth would be killed, disintegrated, caught on fire, couldn't breathe, whatever. Half of them. And without me cussing a lot, they did it anyway. They did it anyway. When half of the scientists thought that it would completely destroy the whole entire Earth. What is wrong with us? What in the hell? I mean, we've gotten to the point where Ra has told us lots of the reasons why we are so messed up. But still, I just can't handle it. What in the hell? Okay, there's more. Hold on. Information offered through a wanderer, Nikola Tesla, also being experimented with for potential destruction. Example, your so-called Philadelphia experiment. Okay. The Philadelphia experiment is really weird. All right. It has been claimed that the whole thing was a hoax, that this one guy who saw the stuff just made it up. It's really, really easy to discredit one person because you can just say he's crazy and it goes away. But this is what the Philadelphia experiment was. It was an attempt to make a naval destroyer, a really huge ship that is the the big guns of the Navy, the United States Navy. It was an attempt to make it invisible. And it happened in 1943. And it was on a lake in Pennsylvania somewhere. And there was a man on a ship in the same lake who saw it happen. But it didn't go right. And there was a hint that there was some weird stuff that happened in consequence of this attempt, but I didn't see the information about that, and I didn't have enough time to do any more research about it. So if somebody else knows more about this Philadelphia experiment, put it in the comments. Let's know more about this, because it sounds really crazy. But here Ra's saying that the Philadelphia experiment was a real thing. But the guy wasn't lying. He wasn't mistaken. What he saw was what he really saw. And this was a real thing. They were using information from Tesla to try to make a Navy destroyer ship invisible so they could go blow up people. You know, it's 1943. It's World War II. They're desperate. Thus, we felt a strong need to involve our thought forms in whatever way we of the Confederation could be of service in order to balance these distortions of information meant to aid your planetary sphere. In other words, you guys were really screwing stuff up, and we definitely felt like we had to come help because, you know, you guys are the festering wound on our leg. Okay. Then Dawn says, of the mystery with the UFO phenomena, and then by telepathy sending messages, could there be either accepted or rejected under the law of one so that the population would start thinking seriously about the consequences of what they were doing? Is this correct? Partly correct. There were other services we may perform. Firstly, so Dawn was asking if by showing UFOs and giving telepathic messages, were they basically just trying to make us think about our actions? And Ra says partly, but there's other things that they can do. Firstly, the integration of souls or spirits, if you will, in the event of use of these nuclear devices. This the Confederation has already done. So in case we do blow ourselves all to hell, there's things they can do to help make sure that the souls don't become like the Maldex souls. Remember, the Maldex completely destroyed their whole planet, and they got stuck in a jumbled up knot of fear for about 300,000 years in the middle of space somewhere. So they're trying not to let that happen again. Could you expand on this a bit? The use of intelligent energy transforming matter into energy is of such a nature among these weapons. Oh, this gets really scary, guys. So just buckle up and prepare yourself for some scary stuff. Let's start this part over again. The use of intelligent energy transforming matter into energy is of such a nature among these weapons that the transition from space-time third density to time-space third density, or what you may call your heaven worlds, is interrupted in many cases. Therefore, we're offering ourselves as though we continue to the integration of soul or spirit complex during transition from space-time to time-space. So basically they're saying if a nuclear bomb is detonated and people are killed by it, that it happens in such a way that the transition to our afterlife is disrupted. This is really, really sad. Like this couldn't get any sadder, what happened to these people in the first place. Could you give me an example from Hiroshima or Nagasaki of how this is done? All right. This is, if you're an empath, this part is really going to get you. So get your tissues, because it's not going to be fun. Those who were destroyed, not by radiation, but from the trauma of the energy release, found not only the mind-body-spirit complex made unviable, but also a disarrangement of that unique vibratory complex you have called the spirit complex. which we understand as the mind-body-spirit complex, to be completely disarranged without possibility of reintegration. Their soul was completely disarranged without possibility of reintegration. Their soul, the essence of who they are from lifetime to lifetime, from the beginning of time, from the one creator, becomes disarranged in a way that they cannot be reintegrated because of a effing nuclear bomb. This would be the loss. This part is unbelievable. This would be the loss to the creator or part of the creator. And thus we were given permission not to stop the events, but to ensure the survival of the disembodied mind-spirit-body complex. This we did in the events which you mention. Now this is great. This is excellent news. Losing no spirit or portion, holograph, I'm still confused about that, or microcosm of the macrocosmic infinite one. Really, really crazy, sad, unbelievable, messed up, just can't, there's no words. There's no words. I mean, the amount of lives lost and damage done from those 2 atomic bombs is so unbelievable, just all in itself. Just that alone is like enough to I don't know. It's enough to, I don't even know what. There are no words. But now to know that a nuclear bomb of that sort, the kind that we used, could completely cause the soul to become disarranged so that it can't be put back together. And it would be a loss of the essence, the part of the creator that those people were. Like, you're going to lose part of the original creation. You're going to lose part of the one, of the whole. Oh my God. Like, can you even imagine? But there was excellent news. They were able to intervene and lost no spirit or part of spirit. Finally, they did something right. Finally, the Confederation has given us some insight into something they did right. And it's beautiful and amazing and miraculous. Thank you. We should all be thanking them. Thank you for saving everything. For saving us, for saving them, for saving yourselves, because it's all one. It's all one. Okay, can you make Carla cough? Okay. Could you tell me how this was accomplished? This is accomplished through our understanding of the dimensional fields of energy. The higher or more dense energy field will control the less dense. Okay. Okay. So then Dawn says, you will allow Earth, the population of the planet, to have a nuclear war and many deaths of that war. But you will be able to create a condition where these deaths will be no more traumatic than what would be called a normal death, like by death from a bullet or old age. Correct? Incorrect. It's still going to be more traumatic, but the entity would remain an entity. So it's still going to be crazy traumatic, and there's still going to be a lot of healing that has to be done, but they're not going to lose any parts of themselves. Can you tell me the condition of the entities that were killed in Nagasaki and Hiroshima? They of this trauma have not yet fully begun the healing process. They are being helped as much as possible. it's been almost 40 years at this point in 1981 since they were blown to bits, disintegrated, and almost lost their souls. And they hadn't even started healing yet. They hadn't even started healing. Oh my God. Okay. When the healing process is complete, will these entities, will this experience of the death, oh my God, my child is so loud. Like, can he be any louder? Will this experience of the death due to the nuclear bomb cause them to be regressed in their climb toward the fourth density? Such actions as nuclear destruction affect the entire planet. There are no differences at this level of destruction, and the planet will need to be healed. The whole frickin' planet. So lucky for us and everything in the whole world that the 50% of scientists who thought that the atmosphere was going to catch on fire were wrong. But in a way, they were also right, because some terrible trauma happened to the whole planet because of these bombs. And it's not just that they let off one of them, they let off two. And then they pat themselves on the back and they're like, oh, well, think about what would have happened if we wouldn't have done it. We'd all be speaking German. Like, get over yourselves. All you did was screw everything up for everybody. Assholes. All right, next. I was thinking specifically if an entity was in Hiroshima. Holy moly, my child. Good God. He's like, okay, he's in another room than me with the door shut, and he's on the opposite end of the house. And that's how loud he is. I do apologize. Okay. If an entity was in Hiroshima or Nagasaki at that time and he was reaching harvestability at the end of our cycle, would this death by nuclear bomb cause such trauma that he would not be harvestable at the end of the cycle? Incorrect. Once the healing has taken place, the harvest may go forth unimpeded. However, the entire planet will undergo healing for this action. No distinction being made betwixt victim and aggressor. This due to damage done to the planet. We gotta fix the whole frickin' system. The whole system. Everybody. In all things. On the whole planet. Can you make Carla cough? Cough. At least we have some coughs to lighten the mood here. Okay. Can you describe the mechanism of the planetary healing? Healing is a process of acceptance, forgiveness, and possible restitution. The restitution is not being available in time-space. There are many among your peoples now attempting restitution while in the physical. How do they attempt restitution in the physical? These attempt feelings of love toward the planetary sphere and comfort and healing of the scars and the imbalances of these actions. So acceptance, forgiveness, and restitution. The healing process. Oh my God. Okay. Restitution is not available. So you can work on healing in the afterlife. You can work in healing when you get to the other side. But you can't do the restitution unless you're in the third density. So people have been trying in 1981 since the 40s to do their restitution by sending love to the planet to give comfort and heal the scars. Good to know. And then here goes Dawn. Back to the UFOs. Then, as the UFO phenomena was made obvious to many of the population, many groups of people recorded contact. They reported telepathic communication and recorded the results of that communication. Was the Confederation oriented to impressing telepathic communication on groups interested in UFOs? This is correct, although some of our members had removed themselves from time-space using thought-form projections in your space-time and have chosen from time to time, with permission of the Council, to appear in your skies without landing. So this is contradictory to some things that Ra said earlier. Because I'm pretty sure that Ra said they weren't doing that. That the ones that we were seeing were the Orion ones, but now they're saying that there's some from the Council. Who knows what's going on? Okay, then are there landings that have occurred, except for the landing when Eisenhower was contacted? Are all of these landings of the Orion group or similar type groups? Except for isolated incidences, shall we say, no affiliation, this is correct. So Ra is saying, except for the landing that took place with Eisenhower, because that was the Confederation. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. This video is so interrupted by my child who is so loud. I should have really told him that I was going to record a video before I started this. I should have, but I didn't, and that was my fault. Okay. So except for the Eisenhower contact, all the other landings have been from the Orion group or peoples, aliens that have no affiliation. That's a little bit scary. Okay. Is it necessary in each case for the entity who is contacted in one of these landings to be calling the Orion group, or do some of the entities that come in contact with the Orion group, even though they are not calling that group? Basically, Don's asking, are the people being contacted by UFOs calling the Orion group, or do they not know that they're calling the Orion group? All right, you must plumb the depths of the fourth density negative understanding. This is difficult for you. Once having reached third density space-time continuum through your so-called windows, these crusaders may plunder as they will. The results completing a function of the polarity of witness, subject, or victim. The results completely a function of the polarity. This is due to the sincere belief of fourth density negative that to love self is to love all. Each other self, which is thus either taught or enslaved, thus has a teacher which teaches love to self, love of self. Exposed to this teaching, it is intended that there be brought to fruition a harvest of fourth density negative or self-serving mind-body-spirit complexes. Now, there is a little footnote about something that happens in session 53, but I figured we'll get to that when we get to it. So this is really confusing to us because they're saying, Ra is saying that a fourth density negative entity believes that they're doing the right thing because if they love themselves, it means they're loving all. And that there's people that are teaching or have enslaved others that also are teaching self-love. All right, I told you guys this was a long session. Oh, can you make Carla cough? Cough. And I'm also coughing. Assuming all of the UFO groups who are getting telepathic contact from the Confederation were, shall we say, high priority targets for the Orion Crusaders, and I would assume that a large percentage of them, shall we say, have their information polluted. Can you tell me, do you have any idea what percentage of these groups were heavily polluted by the Orion information, and if any of them are able to remain purely a Confederation channel? So Don's saying that this must mean that if someone was being contacted by the Confederation, that they were a high priority target for the Orion Crusaders, and they must have gotten their information polluted. To give you this information would be to infringe upon the free will or confusion of some living. We can only each ask We can only ask each group to consider the relative effect of philosophy in your so-called specific information. It is not the specificity of the information which attracts negative influences, it is the importance placed upon it. For example, when the prophets of the biblical times were given the information of doom and gloom, they could have heard it and been like, that's horse shit, and moved on about their business. But instead, they placed a lot of importance on the doom and gloom, and here we are 2,000 years later still worried about the frickin' doom. See what I'm saying? So it's not the information, but it's the importance that was placed upon it. Yeah. This is why we iterate quite often, when asked for specific information, that it pales to insignificance just as the grass withers and dies, while the love and light of the one infinite creator redounds to the very infinite realms of creation forever and ever, creating and creating itself in perpetuity. Pretty sure that Ra just said none of this matters. Why then be concerned with the grass that blooms, withers, and dies in its season, only to grow once again due to the infinite love and light of the one creator? This is the message we bring. Each entity is only superficially that which blooms and dies. In the deeper sense, there is no end to beingness. I don't really know all of what Ra is referring to here, but perhaps Ra is saying that these things that Dawn's worried about are insignificant in the span of time, and that they're not having a real effect in the overall scheme of things. Can you make Carla cough? Cough. All right, next question. You have stated before, it is a straight and narrow path. There are many distractions. I would like to get directly to the main work, which is creating an understanding that can be disseminated to those who would ask for it. So basically, Dawn says, I've gotten off topic again. What I'm really trying to do is this. And only those who ask for it, for an understanding, then can allow them to greatly appreciate their evolution. I am very appreciative and feel it an honor and a privilege to be doing this, and hope that we can accomplish this next phase. So Dawn's like, I got off topic again. I'm sorry. We're gonna really try hard. This is a fantastic opportunity to share this information with people who want to hear it. So then, I have a question that the instrument has asked. So Carla's asking. This is Carla asks. You speak of various types of energy blockages and transfers, positive and negative, that may take place during the participation in our sexual reproductive complex of actions. She states, please explain these blockages and energy transfers with emphasis upon what individuals seeking to be in accordance with the law of one may positively do in this area. All right. This is a properly more advanced question. Due to the specificity of the question, we give a general answer. Okay. The first energy transfer is red ray. It is a random transfer having to do only with your reproductive system. So remember, this is talking about when you're, getting it on with somebody. This is what's happening. The orange and yellow ray attempts to have sexual intercourse create, firstly, a blockage if only one entity vibrates in this area, thus causing the entity vibrating sexually in this area to have a never-ending appetite for this activity. So remember, orange and yellow are the sacral and solar plexus chakras. So this is some really interesting stuff. So a blockage will only occur if one person vibrates in the sacral or solar plexus. and the other person doesn't. This causes them to have a never-ending appetite for this activity. Interesting. What these vibratory levels are seeking is green-gray energy activity, which is the heart chakra. There is the possibility of orange and yellow ray energy transfer, thus being polarizing toward the negative. One being seen as an object rather than the other self, and the other seeing itself as a plunderer or master of the situation. We've gotten onto a lovely subject here. One of which I don't feel like I can properly explain, but sometimes reading it out loud helps me a little bit, and it seems like what's happening in here is so far, your lower chakras get involved in the sexual experience. The red ray, which is your root chakra, has some sort of transfer, but it's very random. The red and yellow, which is your sacral and solar plexus, also get involved. And if one of the people in the act has some sort of vibratory experience with the sacral or solar plexus chakra, it causes them to want to have sex all the time. But what they really want is love. They're replacing lust. They're replacing love for lust, which happens a lot to a lot of people. So this is making sense of that, I think. And it also is possible that it causes a distortion that becomes negative, because it becomes more about the self instead of the service to others, where one of the people sees other people as an object of which to procure their desires, and doesn't see them as another person anymore. This is explaining a lot of things. Okay, and then Ra says third in the third ray, but they think that Ra means in the fourth, which is the green, which is the heart chakra. There are two possibilities. Firstly, if both vibrate in the third ray, there will be a mutually strengthening energy transfer. So if both vibrate in the solar plexus, then it's a mutually strengthening energy transfer. And then what is Ra saying here? This part made me upset. The negative or female drawing the energy from the roots of the beingness up through the energy centers, thus being physically revitalized. Why are we the negative? What? But negative aside, if this particular energy transfer happens, the female will pull energy up from the root chakra up through the energy centers and feel physically revitalized. While for some reason Ra refers to the male as the positive, the male, as it is deemed in your polarity, as it is deemed in your illusion, finding in this energy transfer an inspiration which satisfies and feeds the spirit portion of the mind-body-spirit complex, thus both being polarized and releasing the excess of that which has been in abundance by nature of intelligent energy. This is negative/intuitive, positive/physical energies, as you may call them. This energy transfer being blocked only if one or both entities have fear of possession, of being possessed, of desiring possession, or desiring being possessed. So let's review. Female becomes revitalized, the male feels spiritual inspiration. But then here we are again. Why is the intuitive being referred to as negative and the physical as positive? I guess we can't look at this in the terms of the words themselves. We can't think about it as positive being good, negative being bad. It's the polarities. Like on the electrical charge. The negative electrical charge isn't bad and the positive electrical charge isn't bad or good. It's just the polarity of the system. And the polarities here are feminine and masculine and intuitive and physical. Which a lot of woo-woo people already know that women are usually more intuitive and men are usually masculine energies are more about the physical, conscious body type of things. So now it makes sense. Ra wasn't saying that women are awful and being intuitive is awful. It was the polarity, like the electrical charge. Okay, I feel much better about this now. The other green ray possibility is that one entity, let's back up for a second because there was more here. So if there's an equal transfer, then stuff's fine. But it can become blocked if both of them have a fear of possessing others, or that other people are going to possess them. Remember, in terms of being an object, not being possessed like a demon, or they have a desire to possess, or a desire to be possessed. Because it's going against the service to others. That's all service to self stuff. All right. The other green ray possibility is that one entity offering green ray energy and the other not offering energy of the universal love energy results in a blockage of energy for the one not green ray, thus increasing frustration or appetite. The green ray being polarizing slightly towards service to others. So if a person if their heart chakra is open and they're full of universal love and they're having sex with someone who's not, it can cause a blockage for the one who's not, which creates a frustration or an appetite, but it also causes a polarization towards service to others. The green ray and the blue, hold on a second. I'm saying the wrong colors. The blue ray energy, which is your throat chakra, transfer is somewhat rare among your people at this time, but it is of great aid due to energy transfers involved in becoming able to express the self without reservation or fear. As you can see, I wrote, you don't say. People aren't willing to talk about what's really going on with them because they're afraid of what the other person might think. The indigo ray transfer, which is your third eye, is extremely rare among your people. This is the sacramental portion of your body complex whereby contact may be made through the violet ray with intelligent infinity, so violet being the crown. No blockages may occur at these latter two levels due to the fact that if both entities are not ready for this energy, it's not visible. So there is no transfer or no blockage can take place. So unless both people in the sexual situation are aware and ready to share energy transfers between the third eye or the crown, nothing's going to happen. There can be no blockages. There can be no transfers. It is though the distributor was removed from a powerful engine. The instrument, Carla, was an example of this working to baffle the Orion group during, and then it says down here what's missing, the LSD experiences, due to the fact that it effectively completely opened the other self to the third ray. green energy and partially open the other self to the blue ray interaction. So when the Orion group gave Carla a whole bunch of LSD, trying to screw her up, it did the opposite of what they thought it would. It opened her heart chakra up all the way. And the other person she was getting it on with was able to open their blue ray, their throat chakra, up a little bit more. So backfired. Can you make her cough? Cough. How long do the debilitating, Carla wants to know, how long do the debilitating effects that I'm experiencing from the LSD last? Okay, this is crazy. Firstly, the period of weakness of bodily complex is approximately 3 of your lunar cycles. The first ingestion causing approximately 1 of your lunar cycles, and the second having a culmination or doubling effect. What the hell? So if you're taking LSD, the first time you ever take it, your body's going to be screwed up for a whole month. And then after that, it's going to double every time. Wow. Don't do drugs. This time, when Ra departs, they say something different. They say, "Go forth then, merry and glad, and rejoicing in the power and the peace of one Creator." Whew, this was a long session with a lot of stuff in it. Let's review. There are some real heavy hitters here in this very long session. Okay, so we learned the Bible and the Old Testament have portions of the Law of One. And both books, both texts have a hodgepodge of information from the Confederation and the Orion group. And Ross said you got to figure it out on yourself. Figure it out yourself. And then Ra talked about wanderers coming in around the Industrial Revolution, thought preceding action, Abraham Lincoln's a frickin' walk-in, what the hell, Thomas Edison and Benjamin Franklin, no, Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin were wanderers. It's the Orion group's fault that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Dawn wants to know about the damn, will you just tell us about the damn UFOs, please? We learned some crazy stuff about the Manhattan Project and something called the Philadelphia experiment, which is supposed to be a hoax, but Ross says otherwise. Then we got into the whole nuclear war conversation, which was just awful, but yay, nobody's soul was lost during our 2 atomic bombs. Our whole planet has to be healed because of their stupidity. And then, what else did we talk about? And then, what happened after that? Learned some more about 4th density negative. And Ra couldn't really tell Dawn what he wanted to know about the UFOs. And then we got into this whole craziness about sex and what happens with our chakras during those particular instances, or what can happen with them, which is a whole can of worms. Hopefully that information helps somebody. And then we learned some more about how you shouldn't do LSD. Of course, that's personal preference if you want to, but I'm saying if it's gonna mess up your body for at least a month after just the first time you take it, I don't know. Although there have been some very wonderful, great, fantastic things that people are doing with LSD to help people heal their awful, crazy, terrible trauma in the present life, which allows them to ascend a little bit quicker. So, used in the right hands, probably. But definitely don't accept any LSD from anybody from the Orion group. Just saying. Anyway, this is a long one. If you've made it to the end, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's gonna be more. There's been more before. So please join the discussion. Tell us what you think. You got any information about some of this stuff that came up in this session? Feel free to join in the comments with what kind of information you got, or if you have questions or concerns, or you feel real confused about stuff like I kind of did this time. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll be back with another one as soon as possible. See you later. Bye-bye.